I'm speaking with Denise Talbot about her engagement with seasonal workers in the Longford area of Tasmania. As a parishioner at St Augustine's Church in Longford, part of the Kingsmead parish, Denise began this work in 2018. Welcome, Denise, and thank you for sharing your experiences with us today.
My pleasure, Judith. Thank you for asking me.
Thank you. So can you tell me, first of all, about your engagement with the seasonal workers? So what prompted you to take action, and how did you go about making contact in those early days?
I think it became, it really first started at Mass at Longford in 2018. Some of the seasonal workers at Mountford Berry Farm had been travelling into St Peter's for Vigil Mass on Saturday evenings, and they had to hire buses to get transported in there. When they came, that was in 2017, the HR manager, Gemma, contacted Father Des Holm, who was our parish priest at the time, to ask was there a possibility of changing our morning masses at Longford to an evening mass that would suit, so that the Timorese in particular didn't have to travel so far. It was only a matter of 2 or 3 kilometres to church at Longford rather than, nearly 10 into Kings Meadows, probably more. So that's what happened. And when they first arrived, I usually at the back of the church, because I was playing putting the CDs in for our hymns, I was able to welcome these people as they came in, and because the Timorese in particular are very shy people. And so it just went from there, really. It's just welcoming them at church to start with, and continue that, and trying to encourage other parishioners to welcome them as well. And we just went from there. Then I had the Missionary Sisters of Service, who've been part of my life since I was probably about 5. So I've got some great friends amongst them. Contacted me, and Bernadette Madden was one, to encourage me to apply for one of the John Wallace, the Highways and Byways John Wallace small grants, which I did in 2019, and with the aim of encouraging parish and community inclusion of the seasonal workers, because I was finding they're coming to church and that's about all you got to see them, and you'd see them in the supermarket and no one would even look at them, let alone smile at them or say hello or anything like that. And it's just and so we had a welcome party in the village green and Memorial Hall, and had a community meal. And we had the workers bought guitars and things like that. And we had about 400 people there, probably 300 workers and 100 people from the community. And that was such a success. We won the Northern Midlands Council Australia Day award for Event of the Year. And everyone was wanting to know when we're going to have the next one, which we had all planned to have in April before they all went home. And then COVID came. So that put paid to all of that. But the money that we still had to spend on that, we were able, we've got a parish house where we can, have community things happening next door to our church at St Augustine's. We used to, as a local parish community, once a month we used to have a meal after Mass, probably just finger food and cup of tea and to chat. So we included the workers in that. That became extremely popular. We had enough money to buy pizzas and things because there's only just a handful of us to feed, anywhere up to about 70 or 80 of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so our numbers, the numbers varied a lot, but that COVID really made a hole in everything. It just put us so far back behind things as far as the community involvement and that community connections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pity it just put a stop to so many things, didn't it, COVID? It had a big impact.
Yes.
Especially on community things like that.
Yes. One of the things they kept on asking was, we want to learn to speak English. We want to learn to speak English. We tried to get that set up at the local library, but you've got to have somebody that's, they had basically only had one person who did that sort of thing, and they're only available, 1 or 2 afternoons in the week, and usually about 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, they were still all at work. That just doesn't work. And it was interesting because the same thing came up at we had a Palm Community Connections information session here in Launceston just recently, and that was one of the things that came out in there is the fact that you can't get any of that sort of thing happening at the times that the workers are available.
Yeah, it's a bit frustrating, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah,
so how many others are involved with you in doing this work?
Not too many. I have one other lady is very good at chatting. She came out from Holland when she was a child, and so she's very familiar about immigrants coming in, and she's very good at talking with them, and she and her husband have had them at their home as well, and we've had them at our home, meals and things like that. Yeah. Mostly our parishioners are just ones who, we're all over 70, some in their 80s. They're quite happy to say hello and that at Mass, and how are you, and that's about as far as the conversation will go. But it's very difficult to try and encourage people to get there and spend time with them and listen. Lots of, oh, well, I can't hear or I can't understand what they're saying. Well, I was a bit like that too, but you learn to concentrate and you learn to talk more slowly to them so they know what you're saying. Yeah.
So that was obviously one of the challenges that you faced.
Oh, certainly, yes. It's still a challenge, really.
Yes.
Yes.
And I guess if the East Timorese are wanting English lessons, that's going to help them in their interaction with people in the community, isn't it? If you could get that.
Yes, that's it. And that's what I say, even just having them in your home, just for a cup of tea, I'll just make a batch of scones and they'll come and they have scones. They sit around the table and they start talking in Tetum, and I say, no, Mum can't understand. You talk English, you practice your English. And it's amazing how some of them will try really hard. And some of them have been coming here for 5 or 6 years now. So their English is good. It's not that they can't speak it, but they rely on the one that's the best at speaking to do it. Yeah, so got to try and pin them down just one-on-one or just 2 together, and where they've got to, where they really have to talk back to you. Is the way to go. But
So what do you think the main challenges are facing the workers?
Oh, here in Tasmania, it's definitely the cold. It's the cold. Even on what I would call a hot day, they're cold. And it seems to get right into their being, their whole being. But they'll still come to church, and you see them and they'll still only have their thongs on or their strappy shoes and really summery clothes, and coming to Mass in the evening time here, especially this time of the year, it's cold. And you say, wear warm clothes. And it still doesn't happen.
So do they have warm clothes?
They do have, yeah, a lot of the puffer jackets are sort of quite fashionable. And we have had we've had probably 2019 we had a clothing drive, and I had so many clothes. But as I said to this meeting I was at the other day, the thing is, we had a wonderful response from the parish and the community, but a lot of the things, the cardigans and jumpers and jackets and things, were all old people's things. And you've got these workers here who are only between their 20s and maybe 50. So someone threw out the suggestion, well, you get your granddaughters and sons to go through their cupboards and your own children, not your own clothes. I thought that, but it was a really sensible thing to say.
Yes. Yeah. And so, sorry,
I was going to say the cold is definitely one.
Yeah.
And the other one has been bus availability, because in lots of cases on these 2 farms that I'm involved with, it's usually the work, there's just only a little handful of workers who have the license to drive their buses, their mini buses, but they're also working, picking and things like that. So that creates a problem too, that those buses are not always available. Or someone will want to go, might want to go to the shop. Maybe 1 or 2 people want to go to the shop. The bus driver will take 1 or 2 people in the bus, and then you've probably got a dozen sitting waiting for the bus to take them to church. But one farm is certainly changing the rules this year. They've got specified bus drivers who will take them into Launceston to do their shopping during the week. Sunday shopping into Launceston is definitely going to be out. The first priority on a Sunday is for the buses to be available to take people to church, those who want to go. I think that's going to be really good. Yes, it's going to be interesting to see, because our numbers dropped right off after COVID, and that bus reason, that would be 2 of the main reasons, I would think. Yes. And another one I came across was sending parcels home. The cost of sending parcels home is just ridiculous. And I know, because I volunteer with Days for Girls, making washable menstrual health kits for overseas countries, including Timor-Leste. And I had 6 boxes of kits to send to Timor-Leste, and it cost me about $1,100 all up.
Oh dear.
I could have got them, I had to post them, which all these people have to. I found out I could have them freighted through Transport Direct free of charge to Darwin, but the cost to get them posted from Darwin across to Dili was exactly the same cost as it was to go from here in Longford to Dili.
Oh, it's crazy, isn't it?
Absolutely. So that would be another one. And I think the other thing too, we have food collections and so on through our Helping Hand emergency relief organisation that's run by the combination of the churches in the area. Is sometimes where we get food passed on from the local IGA store that is put in the back of the church, in the church foyer for the workers to take home. But a lot of the stuff, they don't even know how to use it. They don't know what it is and how to use it. Even the things like about cooking potatoes and mashing potatoes. I taught some of these guys how to mash potatoes. A simple thing like that we don't even give a thought to. And I think that would be something that I would really like to see happen, is to have some sessions where they can teach us how to cook their food, and we teach them how to cook some of our food. It's like cooking rolled oats for breakfast, for porridge for breakfast, a really filling meal for them to go to work on. One lady, it was in the basket in the church foyer. She had no idea what to do with it, so I had to teach her.
That's great, sharing your skills.
Yes.
So what do you think have been the benefits for the workers in your interactions with them?
I think probably just there's the trust, there's a real trust and a love there from them. They know that I'm available if there's a problem, if there's something they don't understand or they need help with. It might be about having to see a doctor, or not that I get that very much, because a lot of that happens through their welfare people at work. But just sometimes, one of the guys we had here, he was the only Timorese to stay on this particular farm during the winter, during COVID. And he sort of became our other son. And yes, there was lots of things that we had to help him sort out. And yes, just that fact that you're there, and your mum and your father, and that, just that sense of just really putting their trust and that in you, and knowing there's somebody there. Call us our Tassie family. We're the Tassie family.
That's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, because they miss their own families and they're so far away.
And they're so family oriented, aren't they, the Timor-Leste people?
Oh, they really are. Yes. And as you can see, I have more to do with them than I do any of the others. We do have workers from Vanuatu, Tonga, and Samoa. There are some coming in from Papua New Guinea as well now, and I think there's been some from Fiji starting to come in as well. But I really don't, because haven't seen them at church. And nowhere to catch up with them unless you're going to go to their accommodations to say hello, and it's not always possible, because you've got to have their permission you've got to be invited by them to go into their accommodation facilities. Yes. So
what do you think were the benefits for the community of having these relationships with the seasonal workers?
I'm really struggling to find it, as far as, mostly because the community itself doesn't appear to be welcoming. I don't know whether welcoming is the word, but including them. Seems to be that lack of reaching out. I might be wrong, because I'm not out in the community a whole lot. The local Rotary Club here has been really good. They've got a community op shop in Longford, and they specifically they do more trade out of the seasonal workers than anybody, I think. And now but the money they're trying to put back into the community, and particularly they're looking for things that they can do to support the seasonal workers. And one of those ways has been, I was asked for some suggestions. I suggested some musical instruments, because they all love music, and they don't always have them here. Out of that grant money we got back in 2019, we were able to buy 2 guitars so that we had them at church, and we had 3 guitars donated, and they go into and they're allowed to take them back into their accommodations, as long as they make sure they bring one to mass on Sunday to play. But lots of times they'll sing without playing instruments anyway. So, and that's one of the other benefits for our parish community, as well as the workers, that the inclusion there is including them in the liturgy by singing some of the hymns. Because we've got older people, you've still got to have a couple of English hymns as well as the Tetum ones. But we've even had them helping with reading.
Excellent.
They were translating into their language, and we were doing in both readings in both languages. And now it's got to the stage where I just say, we've got the words in our newsletter. Let them do. They do one in English, and one of us will do one in English, and the other reader will do, the Timorese reader will do one in Tetum, and there's no translating of that back to English, because you've got it there.
Mm.
Yes, and sometimes they will translate prayers of the faithful and do those as well. Yeah.
Well, that's real inclusion, isn't it? When they're
Yes.
participating to that extent.
Yeah, I think that's the most inclusion that we've got happening that I at this point in time. But it's really hard when they're working and to pin them down to say, now, are you going to sing? Are you coming to Mass on Sunday? Are you going to sing? And I start to feel like, oh, am I being a mum or a teacher, or what am I trying to do here by laying it on them that I'm expecting them to be there? When I'm not really, but I need to know beforehand whether they're going to be there or not. And you never give them the entrance hymn to sing because they're always late.
Okay. It sounds like the words of experience.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So what have you learned, do you think, yourself through this experience of supporting these Timor-Leste people?
Oh, I've learnt I need a lot more patience than I have sometimes. I've learnt not to get too frustrated because their time management is very poor. It's different, completely different to ours. And the more you say come early, they don't. Yeah, I think they go home from work and they go for a sleep and they get all warm themselves up after being so cold out in the field, and they forget to wake up and they forget to get there, or there's no bus for them. You know, last year I was getting phone calls from one house here in Perth, not far from where we are. Mum, can you take us to church because there's no bus? And that's all right as long as there's only 3 of them that need a ride. Yeah, so, and I think, yeah, there's just this lovely respect and that they give you, and yes, I do love them all. Our family. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
And yeah, you get, and that's the other thing. It doesn't matter how much you give, you always get twice as much back from them, from what you do. Yeah.
That's lovely. So is there anything else that you'd like to share with us, or have we covered most things?
I think we've probably covered most things. Oh, the other thing I found out this morning, that two of the Tongans at the Burlington Berry that are working at Burlington Berries are actually representing Tasmania in a rugby team.
Oh,
so there's that bit of interaction there. But that's something that's really hard to get going in Longford, is somewhere like you've got school grounds and you've got football grounds which become a cricket ground. There's nowhere for the Timorese to play soccer and the Pacific Islanders to play their rugby without having to go all the way into Launceston. And then often the rosters and things in Launceston don't match and don't fit in with their work schedules too. There's some of the photos there from these are from the Australia Day Award.
Oh, okay.
We went on a bus nearly down to Hobart to get that presented.
Wow.
And this is these ones here of a little baby called Shiporio, who was born here in Launceston.
Oh, wow.
And, because Mum couldn't go home because of COVID. Oh,
yes.
So Shiporio was born here in Launceston and we had his baptism.
Fantastic.
So that was a lovely day.